Tensions in the Middle East have escalated dramatically as the United States launched a series of airstrikes on Thursday morning targeting Houthi forces backed by Iran in Yemen. The strikes, carried out by B-2 stealth bombers, mark a new escalation in the volatile relationship between the U.S. and military forces in the region. This is not just a battlefront conflict. It raises concerns about wider humanitarian and geopolitical crises. The U.S. strikes, a powerful blow against the Houthis in Yemen. Early Thursday morning, U.S. forces deployed B-2 Spirit stealth bombers in precision airstrikes targeting 5 underground weapons storage sites held by the Houthis. This marks the first time in this campaign that B-2 strategic stealth bombers were used, signaling a significant escalation in both firepower and strategy by the U.S. These strikes were not just aimed at destroying the Houthis military infrastructure, but also at further weakening the group's capabilities, according to U.S. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin. He emphasized that this decision was directly authorized by President Joe Biden. What's noteworthy is that the Iran-backed Houthis have been carrying out numerous attacks on U.S. and international vessels in the region for over a year. This latest U.S. airstrike is seen as a response to those threats and is part of the ongoing tit-for-tat attacks between the two sides. However, the question remains, could this be the beginning of a full-scale conflict in Yemen? Lebanon's growing humanitarian crisis. Beyond Yemen, the Middle East as a whole is facing numerous challenges, particularly with the escalating humanitarian crisis in Lebanon. The conflict there has displaced over 1.2 million people, including around 400,000 children. According to UNICEF, on top of that, the World Health Organization, WHO, has warned of a rapidly spreading cholera outbreak in northern Lebanon, adding to the already dire concerns over healthcare in a conflict-ridden country. UN peacekeepers under fire. In southern Lebanon, even United Nations peacekeeping forces haven't been spared from the conflict. According to the UN, Israeli forces have fired on UN peacekeepers multiple times, damaging a watchtower and injuring over a dozen UN soldiers in recent weeks. This not only heightens tensions between Israel and international forces, but also complicates peacekeeping efforts in the region. U.S. support for Israel, with conditions. Although the U.S. has openly supported Israel, especially through plans to deploy advanced missile defense systems to the country, the relationship between the two allies isn't without its challenges. The Biden administration recently sent a letter to Israel warning that U.S. aid could be at risk if the humanitarian situation in Gaza doesn't improve within 30 days. This is a strong message reflecting U.S. concerns over the ongoing suffering in Gaza, where millions of people are living in desperate conditions. The threat of mass starvation in Gaza. The situation in Gaza continues to deteriorate as the World Food Program, the WFP, has warned that the region is facing the threat of mass starvation. Over the past month, no food supplies have been brought into northern Gaza, putting more than 1 million people at extreme risk. The international community is watching closely, and the U.S. Ambassador to the United Nations has emphasized that Washington is doing everything possible to ensure Israel does not implement a starvation policy in Gaza. Stalled negotiations on Gaza. Meanwhile, diplomatic efforts to resolve the situation in Gaza are facing major setbacks. The Prime Minister of Qatar recently stated that negotiations regarding hostages and a ceasefire in Gaza have been stalled for a month. This not only complicates the situation but also reveals the deadlock in international efforts to broker peace. Despite cooperation between the U.S., Qatar, and Egypt, no final agreement has been reached. From the powerful U.S. airstrikes in Yemen to the worsening humanitarian crises in Lebanon and Gaza, the current situation in the Middle East paints a complex and perilous picture. These developments are not only affecting the region, but could have significant global repercussions, especially with the U.S. elections approaching in November. With every move and every action taken by the involved parties, the potential for unforeseen consequences looms large. The world is watching every moment in this volatile region. Where will this conflict lead, and what challenges will the world face next? These questions remain unanswered.